Hello and welcome back to Film Crack Review. When it comes to legendary animated series, it's hard not to mention the world-famous little detective Edogawa Conan, or more precisely, Kudo Shinichi. Back in our school days, we were always excited to catch Conan on TV and then go back to read the manga. As we grew older, we became even more captivated by the cases brought to the big screen. Because every year, Conan takes us on a journey to explore new cases full of intrigue and suspense. In 2025, Detective Conan enters a new chapter with the title Detective Conan, One-Eyed Flashback, where the traces of a case lie dormant in the memory of the one-eyed. And that memory now needs to be unlocked to uncover the veil of guilt. A little spoiler, in this movie, Detective Mori will have some surprisingly epic moments where he carries the team like a pro. Sounds exciting, doesn't it? That's why in today's video, let's join Film Crack Review for a detailed evaluation to see whether this 28th movie is truly a masterpiece you absolutely can't miss this summer. And now, without further ado, because the truth is only one, in a small body with the wisdom of an adult, is the famous Detective Conan. Summary of the plot. Returning to the time 10 months ago, Inspector Yamato Kansuke of the Nagano Prefectural Police was chasing a criminal on a snowy mountain when a rifle bullet suddenly struck his left eye, and an unexpected avalanche swept the inspector away. 10 months later, at the National Astronomical Observatory located in Nagano, a female graduate researcher suddenly spotted a suspicious person and screamed. However, just as the police arrived to investigate, the observatory's 45-meter radio telescope unexpectedly activated to receive a signal. At the same time, Conan, Haibara, and the detective boys were gathered at Professor Agasa's house. Professor Agasa mentioned that one of his juniors was working at the observatory and invited the group for a visit. However, Conan declined as he wanted to go watch a soccer match with Ran. Afterward, the young detective returned to the Mori Detective Agency, where Ran's father unexpectedly received a call from an old colleague from his time with the Tokyo Metropolitan Police, Samatani. This former colleague called to ask about the avalanche accident that had swept away Inspector Yamato, and they agreed to meet in Hibiya Park to talk in person. On the day of the meeting, Mori, Conan, and Ran arrived at the park only to hear the sound of gunfire. They witnessed Samatani collapse, while a suspicious figure sped away on a motorcycle. Conan immediately gave chase but was unable to catch the culprit. Quote, after that, the first investigation division of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police began handling the murder case of Samatani and was shocked to find that the key to solving the case seemed to lie in the avalanche incident in Nagano that the now deceased inspector had been investigating. Furious after witnessing his friend collapse right before his eyes, Mori insisted on joining the investigation to solve the case. This time, Conan was forced to stay behind, so he had no choice but to use a wiretap device to investigate from afar. Worried for both Conan and her father, Ran decided to accompany Conan on the astronomical observation trip and set off for Nagano. On the train from Hokuriku to Nagano, Officer Takagi recounted to Kagoro the details of the case related to the avalanche. The criminal that Inspector Yamato had been pursuing back then was Mikuriya, one of the two suspects involved in an armed robbery at a gun shop 8 years ago. After the avalanche, Mikuriya continued hiding in the forest. Eventually, Inspector Morofushi Takaki tracked him down and arrested him, also locating Yamato, who at that time was unconscious and in a coma at the hospital. However, when Yamato regained consciousness, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't recall the events during the avalanche, because if he remembered the person he encountered, that individual could very well be the perpetrator behind the crime. The film then follows the long journey of Conan, Mori, Yui, and Yamato, alongside fellow officers, as they uncover the truth behind who murdered Officer Samatani, and ultimately, who is hiding beneath the thick snow, attempting to conceal a heinous crime. But this journey is far from easy, as Inspector Yamato continuously encounters unexpected accidents. Could it be that he is the crucial link the true culprit is trying to eliminate? So in the end, will Mori and Conan be able to bring the truth to light? Will Yamato regain his lost memory and unveil the mystery? Head to the theaters to watch Detective Conan, The Shadow of the One-Eyed, and find out. Because this is just a film review, not a plot summary video. And now, don't click away just yet. Stay tuned for my personal thoughts and insights on this 28th installment of the series. Honestly, after watching this movie, I couldn't help but exclaim that this is truly one of the best Conan movies ever. The story was incredibly well crafted and meticulously put together. One of the most beloved features that Conan fans always look forward to is the chance to reason along and figure out who the real culprit is. And in this 28th installment, the movie still follows that familiar motif but delivers a completely different experience. Right from the opening scene, the film begins with a thrilling chase after the criminal. What follows is a series of layered cases that are cleverly interwoven through unexpected connections. It's not too difficult to start narrowing down the list of suspects, but you'll find yourself truly racking your brain to figure out who the true culprit is. And even once the perpetrator is identified, their motive and the full extent of their crime still left me utterly stunned. It was beyond anything I could have imagined. This movie also brings a noticeably different tone compared to many of its predecessors. What impressed me the most was how the film carried a heavy emotional weight that felt very adult, just like what Mori said to Conan when he insisted on coming along. This isn't a game. The film shifts much of its focus onto Mori and the trio of Nagano police officers, Yamato, Yui, and Morofushi, aka Kongming, rather than simply following Conan's footsteps in solving the case. The atmosphere is consistently intense throughout, with urgent situations coming one after another, to the point where it feels like the characters could be permanently lost if they fail to react in time. It didn't stop there. I was genuinely impressed by how Detective Kogoro Mori was able to shine in such a surprising way in this movie. In previous films, he often played the role of Conan's mouthpiece for deductions or acted as a guardian figure. But this time, without Mori, Conan might have had no choice but to give up, because the enemy in this case is truly insidious. In this installment, Mori himself takes on the investigation directly, and I truly felt that his instincts were far sharper than usual. Not to mention, his shooting skills as a former police officer are no joke. Mori's shots were like bullets that shut down and tore through the tragic curtain that was unfolding. Another compelling aspect that made the movie incredibly gripping is the villain and the stories surrounding him. Although I can't reveal too much to avoid spoilers, the motives that drove him to potentially compromise national security might shock you deeply. Through this, we can see the boldness of the screenwriters, who directly addressed the loopholes in Japan's legal system, a system that has allowed many criminals to remain freely at large. The film also boldly references the current political tensions between the US and Japan, something I never expected to see mentioned in a Conan movie. Conan's 28th movie begins with the story of a police officer. And fittingly, it ends with a police officer as well. In doing so, it delivers a profound message about the true values of a police officer, the spirit and integrity that help them resist the temptations of hatred and never lose their way. While last year's film was filled with a fresh, vibrant shade of green, this year's installment carries a captivating shade of black, telling the story of adulthood against the backdrop of a cold, wintry setting. As for my overall thoughts on the film's content, I have to give a full 10 out of 10 to the screenwriting team. They've crafted a movie that, in my opinion, fits perfectly with Conan's core audience, those who have matured, who are passionate about detective work, and who are drawn to shocking, socially resonant cases. And finally, here's a warning to anyone planning to watch this movie without using their brain: better wear a helmet, because there are quite a few plot twists coming your way. Mori and the Nagano trio of detectives. As mentioned earlier, this story places a strong focus on Mori as well as the trio of police officers from Nagano. This marks only the third rare occasion where Kogoro Mori has had an outstanding performance throughout the Detective Conan movie series, following Movie 2 The 14th Target and Movie 9 Strategy Above the Depths. But what's truly noteworthy in this installment is the deeper emotions hidden within this former officer of Tokyo's 1st Investigation Division, specifically his sharpshooting skills. Back during his student days, Mori had already left a strong impression with his extraordinary marksmanship, a talent that propelled him straight toward the path of becoming a professional officer. However, it was precisely a bullet that inadvertently forced him to leave the police force. And in Movie 28, Mori personally uses a bullet to uncover the truth behind the villain who harmed his close friend, Samatani. Not only that, thanks to his timely shot, Mori was able to save the most important living witness of the entire case, Yamato. Without that, this case in movie 28 could have turned into a societal earthquake for all of Japan. At this point, I think you can already sense just how massive and terrifying this case really is. The trio of detectives from Nagano are also given a well-developed, in-depth portrayal this time. They are key figures in bringing this story to a close. If you're not someone who's been following the Conan TV series regularly, you might not be very familiar with these three characters. But what I appreciated most about this movie is that it reintroduces the entire character system so that, regardless of your background, you can easily follow the film, even without watching all of the TV series. Basically, as long as you know Conan, Ran, Mori, the detective boys, and Professor Agasa, you'll be able to enjoy the movie quite fully. Returning to the trio, let's start with Yamato and Yui. Their chemistry this time, honestly, it made my chest hurt, because it's so obvious there's something between them. And yet, the entire audience at the theater that day had to exclaim, "Well, I guess he's just your average guy." In addition, both their personalities and backstories are portrayed in such vivid detail that I found myself growing even more fond of these two characters. At the same time, the truth behind the avalanche accident that left Yamato with only one eye is finally revealed, and surprisingly, it ties directly into the case in an unexpected way. However, the character who left the strongest impression on me was none other than Konming, or Morofushi, as he's known in Japanese. His philosophical remarks were incredibly well-timed, helping to ease the tension of the film just enough so that the audience wouldn't feel overwhelmed while watching. At the same time, we also get to see a highly rational and sharp-minded Morofushi. Perhaps that's why every time this character appears, he always manages to leave some sort of lasting impression on the viewers. Conan and the detective boys are no longer just trouble. Although this installment focuses heavily on adult storylines, that doesn't mean Conan's role is diminished. It's clear that he remains an essential link in solving and connecting all aspects of the case. His abilities are not to be underestimated, to the point where, upon noticing Conan wasn't accompanying Mori, Morofushi even subtly remarked, "Why isn't that sharp-minded boy here?" But if it were only about deductions, we've already seen that many times before, haven't we? What truly impressed me this time were Conan's action scenes. The production team crafted those sequences beautifully and they were incredibly thrilling, especially the final scene where Conan slides across the ice in pursuit of the culprit. Alongside Conan, we have the familiar detective boys. If in previous films we often had to shake our heads at their mischievous antics, in this movie, not only did they stay out of trouble, but the kids even played a crucial role in discovering key evidence that helped identify the real culprit. Visuals and sound. If the storyline of Detective Conan has always been a major draw for viewers, then the visuals in this installment are no less impressive. The production team has beautifully recreated stunning landscapes, especially at Japan's various broadcasting stations. In addition, the settings for the action scenes were meticulously crafted, greatly enhancing the overall quality of the film. The sound design also lived up to expectations, as solid as ever. The climactic music moments and well-placed sound effects helped intensify the tension throughout the movie. The theme song, Twilight, was also well produced with a catchy and memorable melody. It was performed by King Nu, a band known for contributing songs to many other famous anime series. Without a doubt, I'll be adding this one to my music playlist soon. And that wraps up the full review of Detective Conan, The Shadow of the One-Eyed, brought to you by Film Crack Review. We're curious, have any of viewers already watched the film? If so, be sure to leave a comment below and share your thoughts with us. Thank you for watching until the end. And now, to those of you still watching this video, at exactly midnight tonight, we will take away the most important thing you have.